While the world believed Metallica's terrifying rise was completely unstoppable, the true blueprint of their heavy metal empire was forged in a frozen Swedish tour bus on a pitch-black autumn night. In September 1986, the thrash metal pioneers were conquering Europe on their Damage Inc. tour, filling venues and dominating music charts with their landmark Master of Puppets album. At the absolute center of this creative explosion was 24-year-old bassist Cliff Burton, a musical genius whose unorthodox classical training and heavy distortion redefined what a bass guitar could do. Burton wasn't just a band member, he was the sophisticated musical brain of Metallica, steering rough thrash riffs into complex progressive masterpieces that terrified traditional music executives. But behind the roaring applause and sold-out stadiums, an invisible web of exhaustion, bitter exhaustion, and cramped tour bus conditions was quietly pulling the band toward a fatal breaking point. On the night of September 26, 1986, the band members finished a fierce show in Stockholm, Sweden, and piled into their tour bus to head straight for Copenhagen, Denmark. As the bus rolled through the icy darkness of rural Sweden, a card game was hastily organized in the back bunks to decide who would get the most comfortable sleeping space for the long journey. Cliff Burton drew the winning card, proudly claiming the comfortable bunk belonging to guitarist Kirk Hammett, an innocent choice that would alter rock history forever. Deep into the freezing night, while the exhausted band members slept soundly, the tour bus suddenly hit a patch of black ice on a quiet stretch of highway near Ljungby. The heavy vehicle skidded violently out of control, smashing through the roadside barrier and flipping completely over onto its side on the grassy embankment. The sudden impact threw sleeping passengers through the windows and into the freezing mud, but the nightmare was far worse for Cliff Burton, who was trapped directly underneath the crushing weight. In a cruel twist of tragic fate, the bus slipped further as rescuers attempted to lift it with a crane, crushing Burton a second time and ending his brilliant life at just 24 years old. James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, and Kirk Hammett woke up in the freezing Swedish mud to a horrifying reality. Their brother, their musical anchor, and their closest friend was gone in a split second. The immediate aftermath inside the Metallica camp wasn't just grief, it was absolute panic, paralyzing shock, and the very real possibility that the biggest rising band in metal was simply finished. Out of the ashes of this unthinkable tragedy, the band faced an impossible crossroads. Dissolve the legendary group entirely, or hire a new bassist and carry Cliff Burton's heavy legacy forward. They chose survival, holding intense auditions in Los Angeles and eventually welcoming talented bassist Jason Newsted into the fold, though the emotional scars of Burton's loss would never truly heal. Entering the studio with Newsted, the grieving band channeled their collective anger and sorrow into recording. And Justice for All, an uncompromising, complex metal record shrouded in acoustic melancholy. Yet, a controversial mixing decision kept Newsted's bass tracks buried deep beneath the guitars, a haunting tribute to the irreplaceable sonic void left behind by Cliff Burton's unique playing style. Burton's father, Ray Burton, became an enduring figure within the Metallica community, attending shows, embracing fans, and using Cliff's posthumous royalties to fund music scholarships for aspiring kids. Decades later, Metallica's massive commercial explosion with the Black Album and subsequent world tours proved that Cliff's foundational musical theories permanently wired the DNA of modern heavy metal. Whenever James Hetfield straps on his rhythm guitar or Lars Ulrich counts in a blistering double bass beat, the invisible ghost of Cliff Burton remains fiercely alive in every single heavy riff played. Fans visiting the crash site in Ljungby today still leave guitar picks, beer bottles, and handwritten notes honoring the brilliant musician who changed heavy metal history before his 25th birthday. The tragic irony remains that a simple deck of cards on a freezing Swedish bus ride decided who would live and who would step into eternal rock immortality under the crushing iron. If Cliff had chosen a different bunk that night, Metallica's musical trajectory and the entire landscape of extreme thrash metal would have evolved down an entirely different, unimaginable path. Ultimately, the story of Cliff Burton's final night isn't just about a devastating rock tragedy. It is a stark reminder of how fragile human life is, even at the absolute peak of fame. As millions of metalheads continue to blast Orion and Damage Inc. across generations, Cliff Burton's roaring, distorted bass lines echo as an eternal monument to uncompromised artistic genius. The metal world lost its brightest guiding light on that freezing October morning, but the shockwave of his talent continues to shape every distorted chord shaking your speakers today. Think about that fleeting moment next time you listen to Master of Puppets. A simple card game, a patch of black ice, and a legacy that outlived the very steel of the bass. The music never truly stopped playing in Ljungby. It just got louder, heavier, and forever etched into the dark history of rock and roll royalty. Rest in power, Cliff Burton. Your thunderous bass still shakes the earth.